Hello, welcome to the self-learning podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 19, State Power as elaborated by Marx, Weber, Parsons and other. And our topic is Weber on state. Max Weber suggested in Politics as a vacation that the state is a human community or a special kind of institution that claims the monopoly of legitimate use of physical force within a given territory. By this he meant not only that the state had the ability to ensure the obedience of its citizens, but also the acknowledged right to do so. A monopoly of legitimate violence is therefore the practical expression of the state sovereignty. He saw the state as the most powerful institution in modern society, since it has gained the legitimate monopoly of force over a given territory. He elaborates four defining characteristics of modern state. First, it has a legal and administrative order, which is subject to change by legislation only, not by the whim of a lord or a dictate of a charismatic leader. Secondly, it has an administration which works in accordance with the legislation. This means that civil servants and judiciary do not make up their own rules, but implement those formed by the legislature. Thirdly, the state has binding authority on all its members and over the acts carried out in its territory, and the membership is usually given by birth. Finally, state can use force if that is legally prescribed and permitted. For Weber, the political society is one whose existence and order is continuously safeguarded within a given territorial area by the threat and application of political force on the part of the administrative staff. And a political organization becomes a state where it is able successfully to exercise a legitimate monopoly over the organized use of force within a given territory. According to Weber, legal, religious, and political institutions and their interrelationships have decisive significance to economic structures and economic development, not vice versa, as seen by Marx. Weber opposed to Marx's economic determinism. He took concentration of the means of administration as most important factor in the nation state. It can be seen that Weber's theory of state and authority are closely associated. This in turn has close association with his typology of domination. Weber talks about three types of domination: charismatic, traditional, and legal rational. According to him, these three types of domination coexist in any situation, but it is likely that one or other will be dominant. Weber says legal rational domination is more predominant in modern state. According to Weber, the modern state is legitimate if people believe in its legitimacy. And three kinds of domination can exist in a modern state. We cannot choose between the three on any rational ground. Each can be justified on its own ground. Each system justifies on itself. Traditional domination justified by tradition, charismatic domination by charisma, and in rational legal domination, laws are legitimate if they are enacted according to the law. There is no overall or superior set of values by means of which we choose better or worse systems. Weber believed that in modern state any norm could be enacted as a law with the expectation that it would be obeyed. Government and government apparatus are bound by abstract system that these laws comprise, and justice is the application of these laws. In such a system of governance, people hold authority, doing so by virtue of being temporary office bearers rather than possessing personal authority, and people obey laws, not the office bearers who enforced them. The state with the national legal authority could not interfere with individual rights without the consent of the people through the duly elected representatives. For Weber, bureaucracy is the organizational apparatus of the modern state, and the modern capitalist state is completely dependent on bureaucratic organization for its continued existence. Weber describes the state as gaining its power in modernity by concentrating on the means of administration in the hands of an absolute monarch. Bureaucratic setup developed, for example, in the ancient Egypt, when the monarch needed a permanent army to ensure supplies to arms and military equipment. According to Weber, these developments were the most important factors promoting the emergence of the modern state, in which the expert officialdom based on the division of labor is wholly separated from ownership of its means of administration. Officials in modern rational bureaucracies have little or no control over what they do, since the rules and procedures of bureaucracies take on a life of their own, restricting the activities and decisions of those who work in them to the functions of the offices they fill. The bureaucracy for features of ideal type of bureaucracy become the steel hard housing in modern state. This growth of rational state, which has its corpus of bureaucratic officials, is not wholly derivative of economic rationalization, but to some extent preceded the development of capitalism, as well as created conditions which promoted its rise. The head of the system of the legal authority or bureaucracy is the head of the state, and it can hold a position through appropriation, election, or designated by succession. But even then, his or her power is legally limited. According to Weber, though rationalization is evident in economic life, cultural life, etc., of a society, it is fundamentally evident in the modern institutions of administration, more especially bureaucracy. He says neither capitalism with its connection with liberalism nor state socialism, with its formal commitment to social justice, can avoid the use of bureaucratic means of administrative domination. The impersonality and calculability characters of the bureaucracy are seen not only as constraining but also as extremely efficient in securing the popular compliance with the structures of domination. They are for Weber a key instance of the typical modern form of legitimate domination, that is, replacing the appeal of tradition as society's predominant legitimating principle. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcast.